Alan Karpick with Mike Carmen, segment 2, Golden Black Live. Mike, he does a lot of things. In addition to being a Bears fan,
Not very well, but I do.
Yeah, I know, but you do a lot. That's okay, and that's good. He's the jack of all trades in Purdue sports and in covering local sports, and master of many. But anyway, Mike, welcome to Golden Black Live, and we'll start with you. We're going to start a little Purdue basketball talk. Obviously, Wednesday night the Boilermakers had pretty easy go of it. Yet 92 to 49 win, and Matt Painter's shuffling players in and out, maybe like he did against Kentucky. And I know we don't want to take too big of a deal out of these exhibition games, but win and loss. But what do you see from the early going from Painter's number 1 ranked men's basketball team?
Well, if you want to compare the games and not really worry about the result, I thought they played with a little bit more fire and competitive spirit Wednesday night, as opposed to what happened at Kentucky. And that can be a variety of factors. As we've seen in these exhibition games, they go on the road. They don't from a result standpoint, they don't particularly fare well. And that's kind of been the common theme. And it's a fine common theme, because until the trend changes, until they have a bad regular season based on exhibition games, then all is well. If you turn into Arkansas, where you win your exhibition game
and go down the
games in the season, then I think that would be cause for concern. But I think they were just looking for a little bit more, not from a strategy standpoint, but just more of a sense of urgency, play with some spirit, play competitively. And a lot of that's just being at home. And last night or Wednesday night, as we've seen over the course of several seasons, when their threes go down, they have a lot of energy, they have a lot of juice, and that kind of dictates things. But you saw a lot of different lineup combinations. I stopped keeping track in the second half. There were like 11, I think, in the first half. And even Matt admitted after the game, Daniel Jacobson probably plays more if this is a regular season game. Jakari Harris plays more if this is a regular season game. I think as this season plays out, and he's done this before, he's going to go, when you get past your big three, he's going to go with the guy that has a hot hand, and that's going to change on a nightly basis. And that's just, he has that kind of depth. He has all that at his disposal, that if one guy's not doing it, then he can turn to somebody else. And I think that'll be a fascinating thing to watch as the season unfolds. How many times does a Jack Benter become the secondary star of the game because of what he did off the bench, or Jakari Harris, for whatever reason, doesn't have it that night, so you got to go somewhere else. Or as we saw Wednesday night, Oscar Clough gets in foul trouble, then you've got to bring in Daniel Jacobson. So there's a lot of options there for him. He'll use all of them throughout the year. And if they're doing really well, Painter will complain that he doesn't have enough minutes for everybody.
Which he doesn't.
But it'll be a good problem to have. So now that we got through the exhibition stuff and it plays for real next week, I think you'll see a focus that's a little bit more sharp, and rotations that you'll see once you get into playing Alabama and Texas Tech and Marquette and Iowa State and Big Ten play. So I think all that will start next week.
Yeah, November 13th, Purdue goes to Alabama to take on the Crimson Tide. That will be, yes, Purdue has 2 games in between that, but it'll be a big thing. When you look at, and it's very overly simplified, and I know Brian Newbert, who covers Purdue basketball for GoldenBlack.com, talked about nothing that Trey Kaufman ran, and just the spacing and how that is going to work with a big guy inside. And I know that Kaufman played with Zach Edey and started with him. What do you see in that dynamic? I mean, obviously Jacobson did some really good things on Wednesday night. Clough finally got a basket, which is a good thing for him, and is I think going to be just fine. But is there some Are there some challenges there from a spacing standpoint, and how Purdue wants to play with a point guard like Braden Smith as well?
Yeah, there's going to be challenges because it's new. I mean, you can go through June and July and do it and feel good about it because you have somewhat of a controlled environment there. You are playing against teammates, but they know what you're doing. You know what they're doing. But when you play a Kentucky or play a UIndy, things get a little bogged down and foul trouble happens, or, this player's not, trying to stop you from doing this. And it's a tired phrase, but it's going to be a work in progress, just getting used to how guys play. And I think that's something where probably Clough has to adapt more to what Trey Kaufman's doing as opposed to what Trey Kaufman adapting to what Clough is doing. So it just be interesting to see how that all plays out. That's why you have a 35 game season to get these things in place. But I do think, I think once Oscar gets comfortable in his situation, he's done it before, but he hasn't done it at this level with this level of player.
Yeah.
I think you'll see some things. The one thing that stood out just in an exhibition game was, he picked up early fouls. He got on the bench. He couldn't get in a rhythm. Then he picked up his fourth foul in the second half, but It was late in the game where he went after an offensive rebound. He got it, put it back up. He missed. And then he got the rebound again and scored. And from my vantage point, it seemed to be a sense of relief a little bit.
He definitely did. Yes.
He was able to do that. And it's like, okay, all right, that's step one of what I'm supposed to be doing. He seems to take a lot of pride in rebounding. I think he knows he's good at it, and that's why he's here.
Yep.
So I think he's trying to showcase his strength. And I think over time that'll happen. And he'll get in a game where he doesn't have foul trouble. Be able to play in a rhythm. You can practice this all you want, but until you get in a different environment, different situation, do things really click. And even though this team has a boatload of experience in a lot of places, they don't have a boatload of experience playing with each other.
Yeah.
When you start incorporating the newcomers into this mix. So I think they'll be fine. I have no reason to think otherwise right now until they give you a reason that it won't be fine. Yeah.
And you'll have a chance, as Purdue has been the case with Purdue, the Boilermakers have had, you're going to have test games, as you mentioned, Alabama, and of course in the Bahamas and Iowa State, Marquette, Auburn, teams that can cause problems for Purdue, and it'll give you some indication of where you are come Big Ten season, which also will have some pitfalls. So the team that they have to, on paper right now, Michigan may be the flavor of the month. They only play the Wolverines once, I think, in Mackey Arena in February. So when you look, turning to women's basketball, a sport that you cover like nobody else for the Greater Lafayette Sports Report, which I highly recommend subscribing to. You can do so. How do they do that, by the way? How does one get a subscription? I know it's still free at this point, but how do you do that?
Yeah, I'm a great business person, aren't I?
Oh, you are. I know you are. You are.
If you click on the story, there's a segment in there that says you can subscribe. You put in your email and you press the button, and then you're
there from there to the time.
They haven't made it complicated.
Yeah.
So,
but you got to find. You can find the story by searching also for Greater
right. Yeah, I mean it's under my name. If you type in my name and Substack, it should come up in a Google search. But yeah, that's how you do it, and we appreciate anybody that does it, and we go from there.
Yeah. Well, Purdue women's basketball obviously had its first exhibition game on Monday night. Purdue Northwest in a rout. Again, Katie Geralds is trying to get some traction, trying to find a way up the ladder in the Big Ten. You watch this team closely. It's a lot of new pieces, and one older piece that's come back and is a storyline. But what are some things to watch for Katie Gerald's team this year, especially in the early going, that might be a good indication of what you're going to see in Big Ten play?
Well, just I think from an offensive standpoint, they seem to be, and until they start playing, regular season games, seem to be just a little bit more athletic than they were last year. I do think on paper they have more shooters, and they do have players that are looking for shots. I think over the last few years they've had players that just, for whatever reason, did not look for shots, and I think they have more players on the floor who are a threat to score. Now, whether they actually score is a different story.
Right. Yeah, right.
I think they've upgraded in that level. And I said, I think they're a little bit more athletic. They're going to have some defensive challenges along the way. And I think point guard is a bit of a question mark. The one player that they would label their point guard, Taylor Feldman's dealing with a back issue. She only played 9 minutes the other night, but those minutes will increase. Kendall Puryear is kind of on a minutes restriction as well. Yeah. Her reconstructive ankle surgery she had in the off season. So as you get those players up to speed, it gives you a few more things. But I think the return of Madison Layden-Zay, she's now married. Yeah, she was off she didn't play last year. She had opted out at the end of the 23-24 season to kind of move on with her life. But she's come back. She had the same skill level that she had when she was here, and she'll be one of the team's better players. But her asset is just kind of making sure everybody's in the right spot. She comes from a coach's family, so she understands the game. She understands where people should be. But she'll need to score for them and do some things from a production standpoint. And then they were able to sign, just like the men, a guard from Israel. Yeah, Ela Karsh, which interesting nugget from the men's game. Her boyfriend plays on U Indy. Yeah. I didn't see her at the game. I assume she was there, but. Yeah. So there's a minor connection between Purdue women's basketball and UND men's basketball. He's like 6'7". He's 6'7" freshman. He had a 3 last night. But she's a pretty good shooter. She's a really good shooter. If she can get her feet set and they can get her the ball in transition, there's a good chance it goes in. So she brings an offensive punch that they didn't have last year. So I think they have a few more pieces than what they had last year, but again, you're going to be measured once you start playing real games. And the non-conference schedule is very, very important to them, in my opinion. They've scheduled accordingly to try to get wins. Their one marquee game is at Kentucky. So that's going to be a tough one for them, but they need to take care of business in the other games. And then I think most people are aware of what women's basketball is in the Big Ten. Yeah. Purdue's not going to be at the top. Doubtful they'll be in the middle, but to me, the goal is just make the Big Ten tournament and then go from there.
15 teams make the Big Ten tournament. The men have now gone back, meaning that I think all 18 are now going to be part of the men's tournament. It has been a challenge for any coach in the non-West Coast version. I mean, all 4 West Coast teams present some challenge, especially USC and UCLA, as I understand the landscape, which I don't all that well, but that just makes it tougher to compete and try to get in the upper rung of the league, because you've got some new teams that are really challenging out there.
Yeah, and USC, Juju Watkins is not playing this year because she tore ACL at the end of last season, and it's smart to keep her on the sideline for another year. I don't know whether she comes back to USC after that or goes to the WNBA. That's probably a conversation down the road. But UCLA, I mean, they just reloaded. I mean, they lost in the transfer portal their 6-player freshman class from last year. But they bring back one of the national players of the year and her sister, who's a freshman. But they reloaded, and they had some other players on the roster that didn't play last year. So that's the challenge like a Purdue has trying to crack, the elite teams in the league. And USC's got the number one player from the 2025 class, Jazzy Davidson, I think's her name. And she, she'll play a lot and she'll do well. But, the Marylands of the world, Michigan, they're very solid. And, Nebraska's got a really good program. Michigan State is up there. Purdue has its challenges to try to move up. And they need to take care of business against the teams that your Rutgers, your Penn State, your Northwestern, your Wisconsin. You need to move above them this year to kind of give an indication that the program is moving in the direction that you want it. I mean, I think this program has taken enough steps backward over the last few years that it needs to turn that around to show some sort of we're moving in the right direction type of thing.
Yeah, and that will be a challenge certainly when you look at the landscape of the Big Ten. All right, on to this thing called football. Purdue takes on Michigan tomorrow night, and the Wolverines are 3-touchdown plus favored over Purdue. Purdue well documented at 2-6 and facing a November schedule, which I think we talked offline that Purdue will be a combined 100-point underdog if you put all 4 games together, at least for the way Vegas looks at it. What do you think? You look at this team and obviously two wasted opportunities when you had opportunities to win against Minnesota and Rutgers. But now you go into the last 4 games and you want to at least prove to yourself. I mean, is it as much about roster evaluation? Is it about competitiveness? Is it about something else, or all of the above? What do you think?
Well, it's probably everything. I mean, I think they'll approach it just like every other week they've approached it, where you're putting together a plan to go win the game.
Yeah.
Okay. Those inside the building, that's what they do. That's their job. That's what the coaches do. That's what the players do. And I've covered enough of these situations where you get to the end of the year and there's nothing to play for from a bowl standpoint or anything like that. And usually the message is the same, at least outwardly, that preparing the win, it's, you got to get into some sort of routine and habit as you build this program of this is how we do it. This is what we're going to do regardless of the circumstances. But those on the outside know that it's going to be a very, very difficult task. And, I think from their standpoint, they probably already been doing it. I mean, you have to evaluate, how much roster turnovers are going to be this year.
Yeah, that's the question.
And are we
how much do you want? Yeah.
Right. I mean, have you identified the guys that currently among the 54 transfers that you brought in last year, have you identified the guys that you want to keep and that you want to maintain? But how many of those are there? And are we just going to get in a never-ending cycle of, okay, these guys didn't work, they need to go, and now we need to go find 54 new ones? I've got issues with that. I mean, that means you're not really trying to build anything. Yeah. And you would think, the way Barry Odom talks, he does want to build something. So at the end of the day, the actions will supersede the words.
Yeah.
And how that plays out. So I think you're in evaluation stage, and I think they know by now who they want to keep and who they need to say goodbye to. Because I don't think anything in these next 4 games is going to give you an indication, unless somebody just rises up and plays well against an Ohio State defense, or on the road at Washington, or can rattle the IU quarterback. I don't think there's anything that's going to happen in these next 4 games that would change what direction they want to go with certain players. But now, to me, it's just a matter of how much are you going to change this roster as you go into next season. I mean, it's just, and again, I think at some point you have to settle that down and build a program.
Yeah.
But maybe in this day and age you can't. And I know, we all get hung up on money now.
Yeah.
But money makes the world, and follow the money and all that kind of stuff. Been doing that for 30 years, and that's the way it works. But Purdue does need to get some upgrades at certain positions, and you have to pay nowadays to get those upgrades. So curious what the approach is, and I don't know if in this day and age you can moneyball your way to bowl eligibility or competing in the Big Ten. I mean, at some point you have to pay a talented player to come in and help boost your program.
Yeah, especially when you're not in a winning way.
Right.
Men's basketball gets away with that. Yeah, that's maybe the wrong term, but they, obviously have a culture of winning. But also this year, everybody wants to come back because they may want to try to win something big. So,
well, you would hope. You would hope that they would, that the young people that they brought in do want to help build something.
Yeah,
and that's more of a. I mean, I know all this is speed dating at the end of the day, that you don't really know enough about these recruits unless they were with your program before, or you recruited them before. But you would like to have players here that are kind of pulling in the same direction. And I just, and if you don't, like, what's the standard?
Yeah.
What's the standard? I mean, Purdue had a bunch of penalties there for a long time. They didn't have any last week.
Yeah.
But what's the standard there? And how do you hold players accountable when you keep doing the same things wrong? Yeah. So it's a tough challenge. I mean, I don't envy any coach, but we'll see how it all plays out. And I mean, they'll survive November in some fashion.
Yeah.
And it's not really going to change their season, because we kind of know where it's headed and what the record will be. But then how do you pick yourself up and try to get this thing going in the right direction where you can go beat Minnesota, hold on to beat Minnesota and beat Rutgers, to give you a little bit of a lift.
Yeah. Storyline that Mike will be following. You can check out his work at Greater Lafayette Sports Report. It's a Substack. You just Google Mike Carney. And we're going to use this Kirk Cignetti. Just Google him, and you'll get that. And also,
I'll take 10 million.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I would too. Check out also Mike's work. He'll be working with us in Purdue men's basketball with coverage with Brian Newbert. And we appreciate that as well. All right, we will take a short break, and we'll be back with Elliot Bloom in the third segment, somebody that Mike knows well, and we'll talk a little more Purdue basketball, a little bit of Purdue basketball operations as well. So we'll be back in 2 minutes on Golden Black Live.